Alright, today we're going to be talking about Leviathan and Church Assassins, the two new Vision cards that are coming out this week, and Leviathan comes out with an Esper as well, so we need to decide whether or not these cards are worth your Visior, especially when we have such great banners coming up soon with Sakura and even just the 1 year anniversary in Final Fantasy X on the horizon. If I sound a little quiet today, I'm not feeling 100%, so I apologize for that, but we're gonna just bang this video out and get the information to ya, so let's get started. And of course, we're gonna thank War of the Visions for, War of the Visions Calc for all the information contained in the video, since they do such a great job of putting it up for us. So we're gonna start off with Church Assassins, which is an MR rarity card, and it's got some stats, and by that I mean it's got some stats that you don't typically see. So we've got the attack magic split, which is, you know, good for whoever you put it on, which is kind of nice when you're looking for bestowed abilities specifically. And then it has 3 agility, which is really nice. So this pairs with the bestowed ability, which is increased evasion rate, while agility also helps your evasion rate. So this is a nice thing to have on the card, but it's also just good to have more sources of agility that aren't accessories or TMRs. And then the party ability is to increase your attack resistance, which is your single target resistance. So this will affect the amount of damage you take from single target attacks, whereas area resistance is the area of effect attacks. So this is a very familiar effect because Odin has it on the UR card, and everybody can build Odin with the guild metal shards, so it's not exactly a high demand party ability like the area of effect one on the, what was it, on the Bloody Moon, I think, was a little bit more in demand, since the original ability on a UR card, Death Machine, was on a limited time card. So moving on, it also has a possible future at level 99 buff for light units only, where they get evasion rate, which is certainly, you know, a nice buff to put on your light units. And we definitely have some kind of evadey light units. So our comparison is Odin, and honestly it doesn't compare. You know, Odin's a UR card, and it's also just so good. It has Human Killer, and then it has just more attack resistance. So you really, there's no reason not to use Odin over the other card, I really think, even with Evade. And I don't really think that attack resistance and Evade really pair that well together anyway. So unless you're a new player and you pull this Church Assassins card and you need it in the meantime, that would be a good reason to have it. But eventually everyone's going to get Odin at some point in their life of their accounts, and then they can build it up using the shop, the guild shop shards. So even if you don't have Odin right now, if you're a new player, then you should probably just buy those shards anyway, because eventually you're going to get Odin, and it would be swell to just max him right away, because he's honestly one of the most versatile cards, and you know, you can put him in almost any composition and be just fine. Alright, so next up we have Leviathan, which is definitely the interesting card on the banner, and the stats are very interesting as well. So no magic stat, you can't put this on a magic user. It's going to have attack and defense, which I really like. I don't think we have that on a VC yet. So the bestowed ability is fairly underwhelming. It's specific to sword equipable main jobs only, and it's only 10% attack, so it's not crazy. The party ability, however, is pretty interesting. So it's 20% pierce resist. It's the best pierce resist we can get in the game right now, and obviously with Kain running around, everyone is, you know, pretty upset with pierce attacks at this point. So right now it seems like a must pull, but you have to think about the long term as well. So possible future level 99 buff for water units only is the increased area resistance, which is really good. So at least this card has some future proofing in terms of if it gets this ability, even if there's no pierce on the meta at a certain point in time, you could still use this in a water party to get the area resistance, and that's pretty good. And this card got some global buffs, and there's also a VC ability, so we're going to talk about the VC ability next slide, so just wait for that. But the global exclusive bestowed abilities for light and water sword users, so even more specific than the last one, but it's quite good. We get max HP up and slash attack up. Those are both really solid skills, and definitely makes this card even better. So this would affect a lot of light units like, you know, Thancred, Ramza, Cecil, Rob, and there's lots of MR units, and if I don't mention the unit that you use, don't get at me, okay? And then Tyrell would be our main water guy, but later on we're going to get Tidus, and that's a pretty huge candidate for this card to get that bestowed ability for sure, so that's coming before too long, so don't sleep on that. So for the bestowed ability, the vision ability, that's going to be an attack that does pretty good potency even without the next part of the ability, which is increases damage as your HP decreases. The range is quite small, the AP cost is high, so it's an okay ability. A lot of units are going to have a 200 or 210% potency attack, so this isn't going to be their strongest attack unless their HP is low, which leads me to think, you know, well, there's some light slashers I didn't mention, and that's our tanks. If they put this card on, they get some defense, they get HP up, they get an attack that will, you know, maybe they can make the most out of. It kind of seems like an interesting combination, and I don't know, you know, if you really don't, like, for example, with Wall, you probably want to put other cards on him, but if you were going for a more aggressive team, you know, this still gives you defense and it gives you HP, so I think that could be an interesting experiment for sure. Our only real comparison is Behemoth, and it's not that favorable. So Behemoth is, I mean, it's been a great MR card. It gives agility, which can never be underrated, but at the end of the day, Leviathan is just much better. So if pierce resistance is very important to you, then you just need to get Leviathan. This isn't going to be as relevant. Behemoth is. Now for the Esper that you get, it's quite good. It's an attack-oriented Esper, and it's got fine stats, nothing super high. And then the resistances aren't ideal, but they're okay. Like fire, you know, there's not a lot of fire units, but lightning, you know, that's not the best decrease to get. But the evocation, which evocation magic is getting buffed. The bar's gonna fill faster, the skills are gonna deal more damage, and all the evocation magic is 100% hit chance. So that's actually kind of interesting for anti-evade. So this one, I guess we'll talk about it more, is really good with a mono water party. It decreases water resistance, but it's also just nice to get those buffs. So I mean, I'm gonna have to do some actual testing to see how quickly this gauge fills, because I would totally like max. Like Diabolos already does a lot of damage, so you know, if you put some points into evocation magic and then it charges really fast and you could actually reliably use it in a guild battle then, or a PvP battle, that would be pretty cool. For the skill tree, it's good. It's very niche, but we've got 25% water attack up, and there's a lot of like big boosts on this board. So 25% is a pretty big number. It's much more specific than our usual boost that you would get, like a 15% slash attack boost or something. So this is, while it's amazing, it's so specific. If you don't have water units, then you're not going to want to necessarily use this. However, there's other things that are good on this board, and we're all going to get Tidus for free in the Final Fantasy X collab, so we're all going to get a water unit that could take advantage of this Esper. So you also get the pierce resistance up, which again cannot be underrated right now. And then I also wanted to highlight the 25% increase in water resistance, which again could be very useful when every single person has Tidus. When you see units a lot like Ildira, this is definitely an interesting card. And then, an Esper. And the 7% confusion resistance is also appealing to me, because I hate it when my units get confused by Candescent Hue via my opponent's Agrius. I hate Agrius. So we need to make some decisions, and to help, I've made a pro and con list. So for Church Assassins, it's got a bestowed evade, which is a nice spot to have it, and I do like the party effect, but it just doesn't pair with evade necessarily, and I do like that it gives agility. However, we have Odin, we have like an evade party has a hard time filling or making space for VCs anyway, so this would be difficult to put on there. So I just don't really think that there's room for it. Leviathan, on the other hand, it's got great stats, defense is amazing, pierce resist, very relevant currently, The vision ability is solid, and we'd have to do some testing to see how powerful it is and see which kind of units need it. So a lot of units get it because it's not restricted to water and light, the vision ability. And if there's a sword user out there that doesn't have a high potency attack, then this could be the one for them for sure, but it is expensive. So the Esper is very strong as well, but it is very specific. That's almost a con how specific the Esper is. So for cons, I'm going to say the bestowed ability without the global upgrade is very weak. So if you're not using this on a light or water unit, then you're missing out. And the card is very situational. So, you know, if Pierce left the meta, then all of a sudden this card, you know, even if you want to use the vision ability, if you want to use the bestowed ability, well, it's not going to be as useful as other cards where the party ability is coming in handy. So it's also really tricky with split parties, because with every Kain comes a Dwayne and you know, a Stern and a Leela, and those units don't deal pierce damage. Well, I guess Dwayne does, but it's hard to tech against one point of damage. You really need to be a good builder to like maximize with this card, I think. So I don't necessarily think that it's going to be for everybody. It's really going to come up to where you are at with your savings, what you're going for next. I think it's safer to invest in vision cards. I think it's safer to invest in this vision card, in that having 20% pierce resist will be good for a long time. Kain is going to be good for a long time, and there's going to be future pierce units where this will suddenly be good again. So it's definitely a solid investment, whereas like a unit might fall out of favor permanently. I think that, you know, Leviathan with this type of resistance and giving us this level of resistance, you know, that's fairly safe to bank on. All right, so we'll sum it up. That's a big no to Church Assassins and a yes to Leviathan for a lot of people. I really do think that like in the long run it's going to be okay. I'm personally not going to go for it, but I'm saving for, you know, the Fire Pugilist guy that's coming out soon. So I definitely want to save my Visior, but at the end of the day, you can't just do what I say. You have to make your own decisions, and you know, you make your bed and you sleep in it. So no getting on me afterwards. But let me know if you're going to pull for it, and what your plans are for it, and if there's any other cool insight that I missed, and we'll see you next time.